welcome. For the ones who were in the episode 1, this is episode 2. For the ones who were not in episode 1, you can see my recording. Massive applause, 50 more people. Like now we are 100, I think. So, like the talk level right now, okay? So we will be talking about docs migration from how SUSE internally moved away from silos, and we will see what silos mean in this case, to standardization. This is the agenda. Nice. All right. So who am I? So for the ones who were not here during episode 1, I'm Nuno Do Carmo, and I'm a product marketing manager. You are in the right talk. This is a docs talk. Why? Because I was a tech writer before. My best-selling docs are on the right. They are productized now by the excellent team of tech writers led by this gentleman here, Frank. And I will be name dropping, finger pointing, it will be nice. That is during the day. During the night, I'm known as the Corsair in Cloud Native. So if you know CNCF, Cloud Native, Kubernetes, maybe my name went through here and there, but I'm not that famous, so yeah. And previously, I was a Docker captain, and that's what actually brought me to love containers and all this ecosystem about Cloud Native. And I'm also the only Microsoft MVP in SUSE, but shh, it's okay. Before I start, I was part of the Conquista Writers, which is an elite team of Thunderbirders also, for the ones that were on the keynote. No, kidding. But still the elite team about documentation. There's one site that you have to go. It's docs.suse.com. That actually redirects to documentation.suse.com. I just find it shorter, but all right. In there, and I will be deep diving finally for here in the production docs, but in there you have Linux documentation, Cloud Native documentation, Edge, and AI. Everything in the same place. That's where you want to go. So, let's start. Same company, SUSE for that matter, different docs. All right. So, I joined SUSE 3 years ago, more or so, and I was part of the business unit of containers management, okay, called ECM for short. Frank here was part of the Linux business unit, cross with other units because they were already writing docs for other people. But still, we had the docs split in teams by business units, meaning Linux, Cloud Native, Edge, and AI. The site that I showed you before didn't exist, so you, as customers or partners, needed to find your ways. Cool if you know, less cool if you don't know. Because you go to SUSE.com, you add Linux documentation, okay, but I want the documentation about containers and Rancher and whatnot. Oh, wait, that's on Rancher.com. All right, Edge and AI, I don't even know where they were. So, and I'm internal, right? So it was kind of weird space in docs. Plus, let's add, we have different stakeholders. Customers that potentially only consume one or the other. And by one or the other, let me drop a little bit quickly Edge and AI for this talk and just concentrate on my part, which was ECM or containers, and the part of Frank here, that was Linux. Okay, so customers might be only Linux, other customers might be only Rancher. And it means that, okay, you might have different expectations. Rapid Evolution Cloud Native, that was my previous talk for the ones that didn't know. See? And then we had the stabilized and sure LTS / or Linux for short SUSE. Okay? And you want documentation that provides you exactly the steps and the documentation needed to run your mission-critical applications and workloads. You can also do that on Rancher for sure, but then your expectations might be a little bit different. Plus, these different stakeholders, well, SLES or Linux sides, one version every year, every 2 years, but different smaller versions in between. You might want to ensure that, okay, do you have the docs for SAP? Do you have the docs for running this latest database? Because MariaDB and MySQL and others add childs again and forked again, and here we go. We have more. Okay, so you might want that. On the other hand, on cloud native, is like, hey, Kubernetes released already. Oh, Kubernetes released again. Okay, when does Rancher actually have the latest release of Kubernetes? Because they released yesterday again. 4 releases a year, I will talk a little bit about it, but it's kind of the challenge. Okay, so you are pushing your own agenda, like I need it now, or I need these here. I need these explanations. I have these needs. Yet, all the teams in the different BUs had one, let's say, experience, which was like we shared a common passion. We share best practices between teams. Okay, what do you do for templating, for example, or how do you use for internalization? Accessibility, that's important. We are migrating, so we were talking just before in the other talk, but we are migrating from MKDocs in this case to Docusaurus. Have you done that already? Do you know how a migration can be useful or not, or which tools did you use? And all that always with one goal, providing you, partners and customers, the best doc quality possible. Because if you don't have that, you cannot support your own customers if you are partners, or you cannot support your own BUs if you are working as in, let's say, the IT department as a customer. So you need documentation that are factual, updated, and everything. So that's where we start our journey here. Now we went to unify all that inside SUSE. So challenge comes in 2 ways: the technical challenge and the human challenge. And spoiler alert, I was part for 1 month at least, part of the human challenge, and I will expand on that. So first, the technology challenge on the left. Different technology stacks, okay? First, languages. What do you use to write? Is it Markdown, XML, other, okay? Plain English on GitHub, I don't know, something. And which frameworks do you use? Docusaurus, DocBook, MKDocs, others. So this here already enters like a joint effort of many possibilities that can go wrong, technology speaking only. Then, well, if you have different frameworks, potentially you will not be able to apply the same styling guides. Okay, you might be able to write the same way, but visually, menus on the right, menus on the left, is it collapsed, it's not, and so on. So suddenly you, customers and partners, what do you end up is like with an incoherent reading experience. It's not good for us. Local publishing pipelines, how do I write it? Is it going through always the tech writers, or anyone can just PR and some project manager, been there, just publish it and breaks your website because suddenly one tag was not closed or something like that? Great, okay. Protect your GitHub. That's all I have to say. And finally, personalized features. So on the Linux side, what do you have was that great localization, terminology, okay, a search. On the our side, because we were coming into migration, so again, container side, we had the search. Voila, other questions? So it's not the same experience right there, right? In terms of process, now, human, what we have. When we are writing documentation, and that was a question before, like who contributes to your docs? Developers, customers, partners, others, we don't know, or only the tech writers? When we're lucky, okay, only the tech writers write it. They have to review it at least. When you are unlucky, then others might actually even publish it. So who starts the documentation? Who can commit? And that was like a mess already. And then the release versioning. Linux, a bit more slower. I'm not speaking about rolling releases, OpenSUSE and stuff like that. I'm speaking about enterprise Linux that goes about the plan and we know exactly when they will come out and the docs needs to come out at that date. Okay? Or 4 times a year release by Kubernetes. And so 4 times a year releases for RKE2 or K3S, which are our flavors of Kubernetes. And other projects that we were building at the time that maybe add several versions a week. We are not speaking about the same speed, but we are speaking about the same challenges. So it's when should I publish the documentation? Is it tomorrow? Is it after? Is it before the release comes out? When does the release come out? And even more important, because we had this issue with the project on Rancher side, how much versions history do we need? When you click the version history that you can jump into old versions, and suddenly you have to scroll down, we might have a problem of history versioning. It's cool to have a lot, but at the same time, maybe there's archiving methods or something like that to be done. Spoiler alert, Docusaurus is not really good for archiving. So all that were the challenges. Now, what did we do? So first, to answer the question of before, the framework of choice was Antora. I will deep dive a little bit more in a second about Antora, but Antora brings what? A new language that I didn't know about, ASCII-Doc. I heard about it for sure, but never wrote about it. I'm a Docusaurus Markdown cloud native guy. I want to stay that way. That was my thinking. So now I said like I was part of the problem of the process. For 1 month, I tried not to sabotage. That's not my goal here. But I tried to say like, you know what? ASCII-Doc, Markdown is better. Markdown does this, Markdown does that. And then the more I went to like, okay, that's my turbulence period for the ones that were in the keynote this morning. That's my turbulence period. After 1 month, I learned to let loose, like she said, okay? So I was like, no, I want Markdown, I want Markdown. Until the moment I said like, okay, let me try to understand ASCII-Doc. And guess what? ASCII-Doc might be the reason I suddenly felt like, okay, there's a technology and language that is meant, created by, and meant for tech writers. Who knows Golang here or heard about it? Okay, almost everyone. What is the motto of Golang? Batteries included, right? Okay, there's a lot of modules that you have to bring, but the language itself is self-sufficient. You don't have to take a lot of it to start writing Go. You can write Go and Go font and format and whatever. I'm not a developer, but let's say, but their motto is really batteries included. Well, guess what? ASCII-Doc is batteries included for a tech writer. Admonitions, there. Global variables, there. Want collapsibles, there. Tabulations, there. No need to load Docusaurus modules for the ones who've done it in the past. No needs to change any how do they call it? It's not swindle, but there's a word like you have to export the module that is the index, the MDX components, and then you have to change your things. It's globally available to all your sites instead of doing imports page by page. ASCII-Doc can do that. Fabulous. It's MKDocs on steroids. But it's not Markdown, right? And I had to learn it. The admonitions, by default, they are not great, right? Like Docusaurus is great because it's like there's a nice title, blue for note and red for important, whatever. Antora, or at least ASCII-Doc here, is like it relies on Antora, and Antora, it's less sexy. But guess what? You can actually do some CSS out of it, and you can just adapt it. Again, no need to install anything else. You just modularize, let's say, adapt, customize your framework. So I was part of the problem of the change process until I was no more a problem, and it was more encouraging, saying like, oh, I actually appreciate ASCII-Doc now. I still prefer Markdown, let's be real, right? But it's like ASCII-Doc is no more a bad problem for me. The current styling guides, because now we have only one stack, the visuals, the reader experience, the menus, whatever, are all in the same style, the same place. You have a current reader experience when you read our docs. It actually intensify or increase our identity as a company. When you see docs made by SUSE, you recognize them. And again, multiple published pipelines, that was part of the old talk, but it's like right now we do exactly the same. In the past, we used like PRs on one side and issues on the other, and now it's kind of more standardized, and we have one way to go, more or less. And then the shared features, everything that the Linux side was doing, guess what? We can reuse it. Beautiful. So we have the localization, we have the terminology, we have the search, and we have accessibility. Because they were doing that for 20 plus years, or even 30 now, actually. And we, ECM, well, we could reuse it. That's great. And now on the process side, well, for tech writer-centric, guess what? We focus on products. So there will be a print screen after for the documentation SUSE.com, but like we can focus on the products. No more going back to projects, going back to products, what should we read or write, when, where. No, we can focus and provide you quality docs all along. We have one single source of truth. As a customer or partner, documentation SUSE.com, full stop. No need to think, no need to, okay, is it rancher.com, is it SUSE.com, what is it? For the developer, however, well, they still can write. They go to their project, they write, and when they are in need, they just ask us, hey, tech writers, can you help? We might need this, we might need that. Okay, we can help, no issue. We are SUSE. You read our projects maybe first, and then we come for our products. And then finally, the developer parts, because they are writing the features, right, or the documentation about the new features, they act as upstream. Even though we are not developers ourselves, doesn't mean that we cannot leverage what works very well, right? And we can have upstream, downstream, and it works well. Finally, the release versioning, well, it won't fix Linux versus cloud native, right? Let's be real. But at the same time, we can at least align our process how and when we actually are publishing it. Plus, I think, and now you have to correct me here, Frank, there's a limited version history live, and then we have archiving of older histories. That makes the experience so much nicer. No need to scroll versions or whatever. If it's archived, it means that it's not really maintained. It means that the product is no more maintained either, like at this version. Makes total sense. It's aligned with the project or the product. So, having all that, it's nice. But we went a little bit further. We actually created a one team. So now, under Frank, we have all the tech writers of SUSE working together. And was it complicated? Not at all. We could have one single team, Linux, Cloud Native, Edge AI. The stakeholders were rationalized and bringing it all together. I will not read everything, because my only point that I want to point at is that we still have all the same passion for writing good docs, quality docs, docs that you can say, okay, SUSE docs, I trust. You should take that. Okay? And that's where we can meet as humans. Is like we shared our passion before, even though we were siloed, okay, Linux versus Rancher somehow. And now, when we came together, it was like, duh, why didn't we do that before? Because we were already working all together. And the real winners at the end of the day, so I say, when I say, is there partner, customer? Customer? Good. So you are all customer? Okay. So you are all customers, so I'm glad that this slide still applies, but it also applies to partners, of course. So the real winners are you at the end of the day. You can trust documentation to be updated and to be applied every day to your work. You can go and say like, okay, what is Rancher Manager version 126.7? Okay, version, docs, what do I search for? Am I on the Linux side? Okay, I have a SUSE Linux Enterprise server and I need to do a file system increase, whatnot. I can go there. Everything is on the docs. And if it's not, provide feedback. As simple as that. Because all our docs, as I told you, I'm not going through the script here, but like all our docs are open sourced. We are, and I will repeat it from the last talk, but we are open source since inception to this day and to the future. Docs included. You can go today to the repo of the documentation SUSE.com and actually either make a PR or make an issue. The team will handle. I'm no more part of the team, so it's easy for me to say that, right? Still applies, exactly, okay? But you can still provide everything as a feedback. We are here to listen, okay? Just one point that I will mention, that I mentioned before. The SUSE documentation day is 2 days actually, so I miss one S. I thought it was only today, but tomorrow we have 2 more talks. But it's something that even SUSE saw the real value on it. Who else has almost like a day, and you will see all the talks after in the end, but a day about documentation during an event, their event. You can, and I mean, I went to a lot of events. Docs talks, and I will start with KubeCons, for example, by CNCF. I can count them. 1 or 2 out of 400 or 500 above like the whole thing. Normally it's all about technology. So now think about like how a company like SUSE thinks about the docs being first citizen, that they have a full day with documentation talks. Even 2 days this year. And then, please, because I'm not there, please go to their booth and ask them questions. The team is fabulous. They will answer you. And if you have questions about our docs, maybe you don't know where to find them, documentationsuse.com, or if you think that you can provide some feedback because recently you were using the product and a doc was missing, something like that, they will listen. Now it's your chance to have actually, you cannot go higher in docs than these men here. That's the number one doxed person in SUSE. Simple as that. I told you I will spam you. So for the 100 persons that are in the talk now, please harass this. No, not harass, sorry. Cut that on the record. Okay. And all the calls are recorded. So except maybe for my ones that are a bit more on the edgy side of the talks, actually the other talks are really having a high replay value. One last thing, because it's the last talk, I will end up a little bit earlier so we can go for drinks. Participate in our documentation survey. That's important. Like I said, we listen. This documentation survey is sent to customers, partners, community alike. We gather all your answers, we treat them, we answer to them in a way or another. One way is like answering you, or the other is actually applying your feedback to the documentation site. That okay? So, like I said, there was plenty docs talk during this first day of SUSECon. There's two more. The project community docs to SUSE Rancher Prime, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then the cherry picking peek behind the scenes. The others have been recorded, mine included. So whenever the records, like in, I think it's less than a week, less than a week normally, we have the recording, so you can come back. And that was it for now. Like I said, it was a bit shorter. Yeah, way shorter actually. But so now I can answer, no strings attached. I can answer all your questions. No more, it's my next talk. For the ones who were there before, they know what I mean. But so to first answer one question before, it's Antora, our framework. And like I said, Antora itself is easy to install, is also a node package. So that is okay. The difficulty when you come from like Markdown is ASCII-Doc. That's the challenge. That's where you need either someone that knows about it a little bit, because there's some tricks here and there to set it right, or, well, you learn it, and after some time like me, and I was in that place, right? But after some time, you actually either fell in love, because it, again, battery is included, I mean it, or, yeah, let's go back to Markdown, all right? But yeah, Antora was quite nice.
So how did you go about converting the existing Markdown to ASCII-Doc?
So we built a script, actually. So there's scripts that exist already. But now, when I say ASCII-Doc is battery included, what I mean is like Docusaurus is not, or Markdown is not. Markdown, the language, is almost plain English, actually. You have the backticks here and there, that's okay-ish. But all the rest, and I learned that, I thought it was Markdown until I realized it was Docusaurus that I was writing. So why we had the script is that you have Markdown to ASCII-Doc converter, but the problem is that it doesn't take care of the framework you use. So let's say you use MKDocs. You might have like the templating, right, with the double curly braces. It might not know what it is. Markdown, the links are like inversed, or ASCII-Doc, the links are inversed. The link comes first and the text comes second, okay? And some links sometimes were just not swappable because it was HTML tags for whatever reason, right? Because again, Markdown accepts easily HTML in between, and I saw some things that made my eyes bleed. But then in the other side, you have like ASCII-Doc that is quite exigent, like it's really strict. So like for 1 week, we might have like migration issues You migrate, and then you start like, okay, what should I go through? So there's no magic tool, unfortunately. That's my point, my first point. And then there's a scripting involved. But once you do that, though, once you do that, it works quite well. But like, I would say like 70% can be done with, what is the tool like that migrates language to languages? Like there's something like this. Sorry? Pandoc, thank you. So you use Pandoc by default, and then you script the small bits that are not migratable. Very fun times.